Welcome to the tutorial on timesheet entry through the employee time clock or the eTimeclock. You have the option up here in the top right to use English or Spanish, whichever is easiest for you. You have a number entry. You'll enter your number that you've been given by your company to be able to get into the clock. Press the green check mark box, and that's going to let us in here. Now, I don't have any time in for this week, but I can go in and look at last week by clicking the down arrow here and then choosing the last pay period. I can see what I've got, the hours that have been worked, my total for the pay period here. I've got a total of 56 hours that'll be paid. Of that, I worked 48. 8 was not worked, and of the not worked, the 8 was PTO. You might see, depending on your company, if you've got vacation, holiday, things like that would appear under here with the number of hours associated with that non-work pay type. I can click on week 1 to see how many hours I worked in week 1, then click on week 2, and I can see that all these hours occurred in week 2. Unpaid could be lunch or any unpaid type of categories entered into the time card. Dollars would be any dollar amounts that may be entered in my time card, such as bonus, tip, commission, things like that. This is not rate times hours. If this looks good, and these are the start and stop times of each day, my PTO, all of this looks correct, I click approve. I have to agree to the attestation and then click OK. My time card's now approved and can be processed for payroll. We'll go back and look at the current pay period. Again, there's nothing in it, but we need to add some time in for the current pay period. Now, bear in mind, with the prior pay period, you would not be able to approve it until the 12th of February in this case. So the first day of the new pay period is when you can approve the prior pay period. You'll notice when I go to the current pay period, there is no approval down here. I will not see that approval button until February 26th. So right now, we want to go ahead and add some time in for the week we worked, for the 12th through the 18th perhaps. I'm going to go over to the right-hand top corner with the 4 dashes or the 4 lines, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to come down and choose Timesheet Entry. Right here, I'm going to choose New Transaction. I'm going to use my in-out transaction, paid, edited paid, and I'm going to choose a date. And we'll choose Monday the 13th. My start time, AM. My stop time, and the letter P for PM. I could use these here and just move these and scroll back and forth however I want, but it's just easier for me to type it in. If I took a half-hour lunch, it's going to be 0.50. If it's a 1-hour lunch, it'll be 1.00. 45-minute lunch would be 0.75. So the lunchtime is added here. If you need to add a note, you add it here. Some companies may be required to know what time you started lunch and what time you finished lunch. So I can put in lunch 12:30 to 1 p.m. And that's enough so that I don't have to actually create another lunch punch from here. I can just add it here. I click Save, added successfully. I can see that here. If I realized I made a mistake and I actually worked till 6:30, I can click on the Edit and change this and then save it. And there we go. Now, for PTO, there's 2 ways you can do this. If the company requests that you put a request in so they can approve, you will use this PTO request list. In here, I can already see anytime PTO has been approved or placed on my time card, it will start to stack up in here so that I'll have an ongoing reminder of the days that I have taken off. To add a new request, I'll click on the Add New PTO Request, choose the day, the number of hours I want off for that day, a note if need be, a bank if I have an option. I can see what I've got in the bank here. If the time and attendance app doesn't do your accruals, then this is just going to be counting down a negative amount throughout the year. But if all this is okay, that's fine. Maybe if you just want to do a partial day, you can uncheck this, put the time that you want to start your PTO, then the number of hours according to what you're taking off here. Most people just use all day though. That looks good. I'm going to generate it. I've got one more chance to go through and edit if need be by clicking here, but if this looks good, I'm going to click confirm and then click OK. That's going to send this request to my supervisor. Once they've looked at it and approved it, it will switch from pending to approved. Until it's approved, if I do need to go back and modify it, I can click on the little pencil. Maybe we're just going to do 7 hours, save it, and now we're at 7 hours. Again, once my supervisor has approved this PTO, it will be like this, and I will no longer have the ability to edit or remove it. If plans change, I will need to contact my supervisor directly and have him take care of the PTO. Now, the other way to add this in is going to be through our timesheet entry and back to the new transaction. And from the transaction type here, I can click down on the arrow and select PTO transaction, the bank, the date that I need this for, the start time. Just needs a start time. You can use whatever you want, especially if it's all day, but if it's a partial day, then you may want to use the time that you're actually leaving, the amount of hours that I'm taking off, a note if requested for this type of transaction, and then save. This does not send a request. This automatically attaches this PTO to your time card. So it's up to your company policy which route you go or when to use this versus when requesting time off. I go ahead and click save, transaction added, and I can see on my timesheet, personal time, 7 hours. So again, I can edit this up until the time card has been approved by my supervisor. I will not be able to approve this until the 26th. And then the supervisor would also approve it after that point. But that's walkthroughs on this. Again, I can get to my view timesheets and go through my pay periods as I've worked them to see what times I worked and the number of hours for each specific day just by scrolling back in my history. When I'm finished, I can simply click log off, and that clears me out of the device I happen to be on and ready for the next person if it's a shared computer or something like that. Thank you for watching.